That's the line that keeps echoing in my head whenever I look back. It's strange how betrayal never announces itself. It doesn't come crashing like thunder. It slips in quietly, wearing the face of someone you once trusted enough to call family. When I first met Rashid, he was standing in the rain, his shirt soaked, his eyes downcast, clutching a plastic bag that looked one gust of wind away from tearing apart. I still remember the smell of damp earth, the kind that fills the air right before a storm. He was my brother's old college friend, newly moved to our city, trying to start over, as he called it. And like a fool, or maybe just a woman with too much faith in people, I opened our gate and said, "Come inside. You'll catch a cold." That was 3 years ago. 3 years before my kindness turned into a wound I still carry. At that time, my life was steady, almost predictable. I ran my late father's small interior design business, Khalid and Company Designs, a name that still carried weight in our community because of my father's reputation for honesty. Everyone respected him, and I tried every day to live up to that. My mother lived with me in the old house, the one with the lemon tree in the front yard that my father had planted the year I was born. My younger brother, Amir, had recently moved abroad for work, and the house often felt too quiet, like an echo chamber of memories. When Rashid entered that quiet, it felt like life came back into the walls. He was charming in that soft, respectful way, always helping my mother with groceries, fixing little things around the house, bringing fresh naan in the mornings, just because he passed by the bakery. He called me Aapi, big sister. From the second week he stayed with us. And it felt nice. In a world that often feels selfish, having someone look at you like family, it fills a space you didn't realize had been empty. I didn't know then that he was studying me, that every story I told about my father's reputation, every detail I shared about our business contacts, every kindness I showed, was being filed away like notes in his mind. At the time, all I saw was a hard-working young man trying to rebuild himself. Rashid had lost his father young, he said. His mother lived in another city with relatives. He tried a few jobs but couldn't find something stable. So when he asked me one evening, over tea on our veranda, if I could teach him a bit about business, it felt natural. "Of course," I said, smiling. "You're like family now." He smiled too, the corners of his eyes crinkling. "You've been more family to me than anyone else," he said. And that's how it began. The slow blending of trust and boundaries. He started helping around the office, running errands, organizing files, even chatting with clients while I was busy. People liked him instantly. He had that easy charm, the kind that made everyone comfortable. Once my mother even said, "He's the kind of son your father would have liked." And I remember feeling proud, like I'd done something good by letting him in. Life felt simple for a while. Morning tea with my mother, work till noon, a few client meetings, then dinner together at the old wooden table. Rashid became part of that rhythm, setting plates, joking with the neighbors, calling my mother Ammi G. Sometimes I caught myself thinking, maybe good people still exist. Until, of course, the first small crack appeared. It was at a wedding. A client's daughter was getting married, and my company had helped decorate the venue. When I arrived, I noticed Rashid standing near the stage, talking to one of the guests. His body language was confident, more than I'd ever seen. As I approached, I heard him laugh and say, "Yes, Khalid and Company, our family business. You know how it is. My sister's the one running it now." I stopped mid-step. Our family business. The word stung a little, but I told myself, he probably just said it casually. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe family just slipped out. After all, that's what we called each other at home. I brushed it off. But small things began to add up after that. One afternoon, a client called the office asking for Mr. Rashid Khalid. When I told her there was no one by that name, she laughed. "Oh, perhaps I heard wrong. He said he was part of the family." My stomach tightened. That evening, I asked him casually while folding invoices, "Did you tell anyone your name is Rashid Khalid?" He chuckled. "Oh, that? No. Api. Maybe they just assumed. You know how people are, they like to label." He brushed it off so easily, so naturally, that I felt embarrassed for even asking. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my father's old lessons. Your name is your promise. Don't let anyone carry it lightly. And yet, I had given it to someone without realizing. The next morning, I watched Rashid leave for a meeting, wearing my father's old cufflinks. He'd borrowed them weeks ago for good luck, and I hadn't asked for them back. I told myself it was fine. He was family. He'd earned that trust. But somewhere deep inside, something uneasy began to stir. I didn't know it yet, but the man I'd opened my home to wasn't just using my father's name for small talk or convenience. He was building his empire on it. When the dust finally settled, I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, the same bed I'd grown up in, and staring at the wall opposite me. There was a photo of my father hanging there, framed in dark mahogany. His eyes, always kind, seemed to look right through me. For weeks, I had avoided looking at that picture. I felt like I'd failed him. I had spent so many years protecting our family name, his legacy, and in a few short months, I'd let a stranger wear it like a mask. But that night I didn't cry. I was empty, but I was clear. Rashid's web had finally fallen apart. The truth had reached the right ears. Our clients, the local chamber of commerce, even the same relatives who once whispered that he was like a son to me. It turned out that he'd opened several small deals under my family's name, using our company's good reputation as collateral. He'd even printed business cards with the words Khalid and Rashid Enterprises. He thought I wouldn't notice because I wasn't the kind of woman who watched the numbers too closely. He was wrong. The day I confronted him was the first time I saw who he really was. Not the humble, grateful young man who used to sweep our courtyard, but someone cold, sharp, and entirely unapologetic. He didn't shout. He didn't even try to lie. He just said, "You built your name on your father's back." I was only trying to do the same. And something about that sentence, that cruel twist of justification, broke whatever pity I had left for him. I remember my voice trembling as I told him, "The difference, Rashid, is that my father earned his name. You stole it." In the weeks that followed, I filed the reports, revoked every access he had, and closed every partnership he'd opened in our name. The business took a hit, a hard one, but I accepted it. Better to rebuild from honesty than to stand on someone else's deceit. My mother was quiet during that time. She never said, "I told you so." She just placed her hand on my shoulder one evening as we had tea and said softly, "Sometimes Allah shows us who people truly are, not to hurt us, but to protect us from loving blindly." I carried those words with me. There were nights when anger crept in again, the kind that keeps you awake, imagining what you could have done differently. I used to go out to the lemon tree in our yard and sit beneath it, the air filled with its faint citrus scent. That tree had seen everything. My childhood laughter, my father's passing, and now this quiet betrayal. But as the months passed, I began to feel peace return. Not all at once, but like the slow mending of a cracked wall after the rain. I rebuilt Khalid and Company from the ground up. This time I was careful, not colder but wiser. I started working with younger designers, mentoring them the way my father once mentored me. And maybe that's what healing really means. Not forgetting what broke you, but making sure it doesn't break someone else. A year later, I saw Rashid again. It was at a charity event organized by one of our old clients. He was there, standing in the corner, his suit wrinkled, his smile no longer reaching his eyes. When he saw me, he hesitated, maybe expecting anger or a scene. But I just nodded politely. He tried to speak, but I stopped him gently. "It's all right," I said. "I've forgiven you. Just don't use someone else's name to build your own again." He looked down embarrassed and whispered, "I didn't realize what I was destroying." I smiled faintly. "That's the thing about using someone else's light, Rashid. You don't notice when it blinds you." And with that, I walked away, not because I hated him, but because I no longer carried the weight of needing to fix him. These days, when clients come into my office, I keep my father's nameplate on the desk. It's old, the letters slightly faded, but it reminds me of everything that matters. Integrity, faith, and family. I still help people. I still open my door when someone knocks, but now I do it with clearer eyes. I've learned that trust is not about giving everything. It's about knowing who deserves it. Some wounds don't heal by forgetting. They heal by teaching us boundaries. I still believe in kindness. But I also believe that kindness must walk hand in hand with wisdom. Sometimes I think about that rainy day when Rashid first stood at my gate, soaked, lost, holding that plastic bag. I wonder if, back then, he already knew what he was going to do. Or if he truly meant to be the brother I believed he was. Maybe both can be true. People don't always enter our lives to love us. Sometimes, they enter to teach us what love shouldn't cost. If I could go back, I wouldn't shut my door that day. I'd still help him. But I'd help him differently. Because compassion without caution isn't kindness, it's self-destruction. So now, when someone calls me sister, I listen not to their words, but to their intentions. And maybe that's what growing up really means. Learning that family isn't defined by who calls you Aapi, but by who protects your name when you're not in the room. Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know how your heart would have handled it. And if you believe that some lessons are worth the pain they bring, don't forget to subscribe for more true stories like mine. Because sometimes, the deepest betrayals come from the ones who call you family.